stuff has happened. Lots of changes are in the midst of happening in my life, personally, all of which I'm actually very happy about. Sadly, I haven't had the time that I've wanted to have to dedicate to YouTube because I've started a new university degree. I'm studying animation with a focus on 3D modeling, if that's interesting to you. Anyway, I just wanted to tell you that, I'm working really hard. I'm still continually improving my knowledge on lighting, directing, props, stuff like that. And this course is definitely helping me to do that. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to get all of these new skills and apply them directly to YouTube. It's been a while, like I was saying, since I've last filmed, so I'm a bit out of whack. Setting up the lighting here was a bit different than normal. I've got 2 new back diffuser lights, which you won't see because they're lighting the green screen behind me. And I've got these 2 lights which I normally use as point lights for my face, and it's just been a little bit confusing to remember how to set up my whole studio again. But regardless, let's get into this reading. Now, we are reading today about the badger. One of my viewers very kindly suggested that we should read about the badger, and I didn't even have that in my mind. But as soon as I heard it, I was like, of course. What a great idea. I barely know anything about badgers. I've only really ever seen them in movies. I don't even know if I've seen them. I definitely have never seen one in a zoo. I think I've seen a few nature documentaries, but then again, I'm very underprepared for this topic, so let's get into it. If you have anything you'd like me to read about in whispering Wikipedia, please tell me in the comments below. I read every comment, and it means a lot to me. So, badgers are short-legged omnivores, mostly in the family Mustelidae, which also include the otters, polecats, weasels, and ferrets, but also with 2 species called badgers in the related family Mephididae, which also includes the skunks. Okay. Badgers are a polyphyletic grouping and are not a natural taxonomic grouping. Badgers are united by their squat bodies, adapted for fossorial activity. All belong to the caniform suborder of the carnivorian mammals. The 11 species of mustelid badgers are grouped in 4 subfamilies. The Melanae, 4 species including the European badger. The Helictinidae, which are 5 species of ferret badger. Melivorinae, the honey badger or rattle. Never heard of rattle before. And Taxididae, the American badger. The respective genera are Arctonix, Meles, Melogale, or Melogale, Mellivora, and Taxidia. Badgers include the most basal mustelids, and the American badger is the most basal of all, followed successively by the rattle and the melanae. The estimated split dates are about 17.8, 15.5, and 14.8 million genus Mustelidae, but more recent genetic evidence indicates that these are actually members of the skunk family, Mephididae. How interesting. Badger mandibular condyles connected to the long cavities in their skull, kind of like the mandible, which gives resistance to jaw dislocation and increases their bite grip strength. So that must be where the famous kind of badger strength comes from. This in turn limits jaw movement to hinging open and shut, or twisting movement possible for the jaws of most mammals. Badgers have rather short, wide bodies with short legs for digging. They have elongated weasel-like heads with small ears. Their tails vary in length depending on species. The stink badger has a very short tail, while the ferret badger's tail can be from 46 to 51 centimeters, 18 to 20 inches long, depending on age. They have black faces with distinctive white markings, grey bodies with a light-coloured stripe from head to tail, and dark legs with light-coloured underbellies. They grow to around 90 centimeters, which is 35 inches in length, including tail. The European badger is one of the largest. The American badger, the hog badger, and the honey badger are generally a little smaller and lighter. Stink badgers are smaller still, and ferret badgers smallest of all. They weigh around 9 to 11 kilograms, which is 20 to 24 pounds, while some Eurasian badgers weigh around 18 kilograms, which is 40 pounds. Now, to the most interesting subsection of Wikipedia, the etymology. The word badger, originally applied to the European badger Meles meles, comes from the earlier bagard from 16th century, presumably referring to the white mark borne like a badge on its forehead. Similarly, a now archaic synonym was boson badger in 1375, a variant of bonson, striped piebald, from Old French bonson and bonsontid. The less common name brock is a Celtic loan word from Proto-Celtic brokos, meaning grey. The Proto-Germanic term was something I don't know how to pronounce. But in early modern English it was dasse, probably from the pi root tech to construct, so the badger would have been named after its digging of sets, which are tunnels. The Germanic term Pfafferts became taxus or taxo onus in Latin glossus, replacing millis, marten, or badger. And from these words, the most common Romance terms for the animal evolved. In Italian tasso, in French tasson, blaireau is now more common. In Catalan toxo, in Spanish dijon, I'm bad at Spanish pronunciation, and Portuguese texugo. If you're a native Portuguese speaker, can you tell me how the X sound is pronounced? Is the X a H or an S in Portuguese? Moving on, a male European badger is a boar, a female is a sow, and a young badger is a cub. However, in North America the young are usually called dens. A badger's home is called a set. Now I'm going to skip the classification. I'm sorry if you don't like, if you want me to read out long lists of scientific classifications, but I think that would only really be painful for us to do. To distribution. Badgers are found in much of North America, Ireland, Great Britain, and most of the rest of Europe, as far as north as southern Scandinavia. They live as far east as Japan and China. The Javan ferret badger lives in Indonesia, and the Bornean ferret badger lives in Malaysia. The honey badger is found in most of sub-Saharan Africa, the Arabian Desert, the southern Levant, Turkmenistan, Pakistan, and India. Now to behaviour. The behaviour of badgers differs by family, but all shelter underground, living in burrows called sets, which may be very extensive. Some are solitary, moving from home to home, while others are known to form clans called sets. Set size is variable from 2 to 15. Badgers can run or gallop. What? At 25 to 30 kilometers an hour for short periods of time, and they are nocturnal. In North America, coyotes sometimes eat badgers and vice versa. That's funny, but the majority of their interaction seems to be mutual or neutral. American badgers and coyotes have been seen hunting together in a cooperative fashion. Moving to their diet, I think I'm very excited for this section actually. The diet of the Eurasian badger consists largely of earthworms, especially Lumbricus terrestris, insects, grubs, and the eggs and young of ground nesting birds. They also eat small mammals, amphibians, reptiles, and birds, as well as roots and fruit. In Britain, they are the main predator of hedgehogs, which have demonstrably lower populations in areas where badgers are numerous. So much so that hedgehog rescue societies do not release hedgehogs into known badger territories. They are occasional predators of domestic chickens and are able to break into enclosures that a fox cannot. In southern Spain, badgers feed to a significant degree on rabbits. American badgers are fossorial carnivores, i.e., they catch a significant proportion of their food underground by digging. They can tunnel after ground-dwelling rodents at speed. The honey badger of Africa consumes honey. Porcupines, and even venomous snakes, such as the puff adder. What? They climb trees to gain access to honey from bees' nests. Badgers have been known to become intoxicated with alcohol after eating rotting fruit. Now to their relations with humans. Starting with hunting. Hunting badgers for sport has been common in many countries. The Dachshund, German for badger hound, dog breed was bred for this purpose. I really can't imagine a dachshund hunting a badger. Badger baiting was formerly a popular blood sport. Although badgers are quite normally docile, they fight fiercely when cornered. This led people to capture and box badgers and then wager on whether a dog succeed in removing the badger from its refuge. In England, opposition from naturalists led to its ban under the Cruelty to Animals Act of 1835 and the Protection of Badgers Act of 1992. Made it an offence to kill, injure, or take a badger, or to interfere with a set, remember their homes, unless under licence from a statutory authority. The Hunting Act of 2004 further banned fox hunters from blocking sets during their chases. Badgers have been trapped commercially for their pelts, which have been used for centuries to make shaving brushes, a purpose to which it is particularly suited owing to its high water retention. Virtually all commercially available badger hair now comes from mainland China, though which has farms for the purpose. The Chinese supply 3 grades of hair to domestic and foreign brush makers. Village cooperatives are also licensed by the national government to hunt and process badgers to avoid their becoming a crop nuisance in rural northern China. The European badger is also used as trim for some traditional Scottish clothing. The American badger is also used for paintbrushes and as trim for some Native American garments. Now we move to culling. Controlling the badger population is prohibited in many European countries since badgers are listed in the Berne Convention, but they are not otherwise the subject of any international treaty or legislation. Many badgers in Europe were gassed during the 1960s and 70s to control rabies. Until the 80s, badger culling in the United Kingdom was undertaken in the form of gassing, allegedly to control the spread of bovine tuberculosis. Limited culling resumed in 1998 as part of a 10-year randomized trial cull, which was considered by John Krebs and others to show that culling was ineffective. Some groups called for a selective cull, whilst others favoured a programme of vaccination. Wales and Northern Ireland are currently, in 2013, conducting field trials of a badger vaccination programme. In 2012, the government authorised a limited cull, led by the Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs. However, it was later deferred, and a wide range of reasons given. In August of 2013, a full culling program began, whereby it was expected that about 5,000 badgers would be killed over 6 weeks in West Somerset and Gloucestershire, using a mixture of controlled shooting and free shooting. Some badgers were to be trapped in cages first. The cull caused many protests, with emotional, economic and scientific reasons being cited. The badger is considered an iconic species of the British countryside, and it has been claimed by shadow ministers that the government's own figures show it will cost more than it saves. And Lord Greaves, who led the randomised badger culling trial of the 90s, said the 2 pilots will not yield any useful information. Now we move to food. Although rarely eaten today in the United States or the United Kingdom, badgers were once a primary meat source for the diets of Native Americans and European colonists. Badgers were also eaten in Britain during World War II and the 50s. In some areas of Russia, the consumption of badger meat is still widespread. Shish kebabs made from badger, along with dog meat and pork, are a major source of lakes in the Altai region of Russia. In Croatia, badger meat is rarely eaten, but when it is usually smoked, dried, or served in goulash. In France, badger meat was used in the preparation of several dishes, such as a bleu-sang, and it was a relatively common ingredient in countryside cuisine. Badger meat was eaten in some parts of Spain until recently, and as pets. Badgers are sometimes kept as pets. Keeping a badger as a pet or offering one for sale is an offence in the United Kingdom under the 1992 Protection of Badgers Act. And finally, badgers in popular culture. In Europe, during the medieval period, accounts of badgers and bestiaries described badgers as working together to dig holes under mountains. They were said to lie down at the entrance of the hole, holding a stick in their mouths, while the other two badgers piled dirt on their bellies. Two badgers would then take hold of the stick in the badger's mouth and drag the animal loaded with dirt away, almost in the fashion of a wagon. It's very weird. The moralizing component of bestiaries often took precedence over their function as natural history texts, and this description of badgers most likely reflects an allegorical exemplar rather than what everyday people in the Middle Ages might or might not have believed about how badgers behaved in the wild. In a 19th century poem, The Badger by John Clare describes a badger hunt and badger baiting. The character Frances in Russell Auburn's children's books, beginning with Bedtime for Frances, is depicted as a badger. Truffle Hunter is a heroic badger in the Chronicles of Narnia book Prince Caspian by C.S. Lewis. Badger characters are featured in author Brian Jackie's Redwall series, most often falling under the title of Badger Lord or Badger Mother. A badger god is featured in The Immortals in 1992-96 by Tamora Pierce, and The Badger is a comic book hero created by Mike Barron. The badger is the emblem of the Hufflepuff house of the Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry in the J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter book series. I don't know if you've taken the test, but whenever I take it, I end up being Hufflepuff. It is chosen as such because the badger is an animal that is often underestimated, because it lives quietly until attacked, but which, when provoked, can fight off animals much larger than itself, which resembles the Hufflepuff house in several ways. Many other stories featuring badgers characters include Kenneth Graham's children's novel The Wind in the Willows, which I love, and I love the animated film adaptation. Beatrix Potter's The Tale of Mr. Todd, Rupert Bear Adventures by Mary Dortell, T.H. White's Arthurian fantasy novels The Once and Future King and The Book of Merrill, Fantastic Mr. Fox by Roald Dahl, Richard Adams' Watership Down, which I love as well, Colin Dan's The Animals of Farthingwood, and Aaron Hunter's Warriors. In the historic novel Incidents of Hawks Hill by Alan Eckhart, a badger is one of the main characters. Badgers are also featured in films and animations. A flash video called Badgers shows a Seat doing calisthenics. The 1973 Disney animated film Robin Hood depicts the character of Friar Tuck as a badger. In the Dr. Snuggles series, Dennis the Handyman was a badger. In Europe, the badgers were traditionally used to predict the length of winter. The badger is the state animal of the US state of Wisconsin, and Bucky Badger is the mascot of the athletic teams at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. badger is also the official mascot of Brock University in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, the University of Sussex, England, and St. Aidan's College at the University of Durham. In 2007, the appearance of honey badgers around the British base at Basra, Iraq, fueled rumours among the locals that British forces deliberately released man-eating and bear-like badgers to spread panic. These allegations were denied by the British Army and the director of Basra's veterinary hospital. On the 24th of August 2013, the PC video game Shelter was released by developers Might and Delight, in which players controlled a mother badger protecting her cubs. I remember that. It was a cool indie game, I think, or indie-styled game. As a sub-series of the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise, Styx the Badger is one of the main characters of the Sonic Boom series. Very cool. A lot of interesting information. I feel like I've got a kind of broader and wider perspective of badgers in general. They're these kind of small, hardy, tough things with water, resistant hair, and they seem to play a prominent role in a lot of, cultural stuff. So very fascinating. Thank you so much to whoever suggested this video.